Hey guys, I'm Rake, and we are streaming blacksmithing for as long as we can today. So it is storming, or well, not storming. Actually, it's pretty blue skies out there, and bright, shiny. It looks gorgeous out there, but it is windy as all get out, and we are under a severe weather watch, I guess, and like a tornado watch. So we are Man, these are filthy. Anyway, so we are going to be streaming for as long as we can. It is not safe for me to be in here when it starts getting really, really bad. So when it starts to get dark, I will start looking at picking things up. Like I said, I mean, this is kind of it's a brick building, but it still would be better to be in like the basement if something were to happen. So it's also, got lots and lots of metal in here. So, with lightning, it always makes me a little bit nervous. Um, so far, the internet is holding up really beautifully. And I really think that the workmen fixed what was going wrong. It's been windy as all get out all day, and I haven't had a single drop. So hopefully it stays that way. Knock on wood. This is totally the test for that. So I finished our coal forge, and it is working absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. However, my vent hood that we were testing is not working. I accidentally smoked myself out yesterday trying to test it. The forge itself works absolutely beautifully, and everything is functional, and it's ready to go. However, I need to kind of figure out what we can do to vent the smoke outside of the shop. It was like hotboxing coal smoke, and that's not good. So right now it is way too windy, and with the impending storm, it's not safe or smart to use the coal forge outside. So we are going to stick in here. I did also notice that I am missing my coal rake. I have no idea what I did with it because I had it when I was bending the legs for the coal forge, or like the new coal forge. So today we're going to build a new coal rake. And so we're going to start with this piece right here. This is a piece of 1 foot long, 1/4 inch square stock. Um, and for all of you Europeans, that is probably about a centimeter-ish, centimeter and a half in width and height, and about 33-ish centimeters long. And so we're going to turn this into a coal rake. So that way we can kind of control our fire, add more coal, and remove the coal when we're trying to douse the flame. It is a amazing coal management tool. So that's what we're going to do today. Nice. All right. So first things first. It looks like we're in the middle of an ad. So once the ad is over, I will light the forge and we'll get started heating on this piece of material. Um, so a couple of housekeeping things. I still have not been able to uh, update my end screen. I have just been so ridiculously busy editing the Indiana stuff. The first Indiana overview video is out. It came out at 10 a.m. today. So you guys should check that out. And then, so I've been editing my artist interview from Indiana, and that's Nate Weiss. He is an amazing blacksmith and metal worker. So he takes things from forge to file, and he makes these absolutely gorgeous handmade pieces, or like handmade hand tools. So I guess pliers and compasses and things like that. So I'm really excited about that edit. I've got most of it done, but I got to add B-roll. We've got some nice music already there, and yeah, so we just need to, show his work, showcase it in a way that makes it pleasant to watch. So that is taking a little bit of extra time. And I just didn't quite have enough today to finish that up, as well as changing the outro. So I apologize. I will get that done as soon as I possibly can. I need to update that. Looks like the ad is done. So I'm going to start the forge. I'm saying a lot today. And now that I've said that, I'm going to say even more, because every time I start thinking about that, it gets worse. All right. Let's turn on this forge. That was not fun. Let's try that again. All right, much more better. Yay! All right, so I'm going to put this piece of steel into heat. And then we're going to start working on a coal rake. Let me grab my headphones so I can hear myself. There we go, much more better. I still have not been able to assess and fix my other 2-pound hammer, so we're stuck with the Harbor Freight one with the really long handle. So we'll see how this goes. I feel like my shop is a giant disaster today, and I didn't really have a lot of time to clean it up a little bit. I was working on finishing the last final touches on the forge, and so I've just been moving tools all over the place. Anything that I could move over that direction, I did. So over there, it's an absolute disaster, and I feel like that's always how it works in this shop. I tend to make messes and then just move the messes around. I don't know. I need to be better about that. Make sure that everything has a place and everything gets put back in its place. And I will do that eventually, in that, copyright soon. You know how, like, video game companies and stuff, they're all like, coming soon, but there's, like, never an actual release date. And they're always just like, soon we will be doing this stuff. And half the time they don't even do it. That's what I mean when I say I will put everything in a place soon. Can you show the rows again from the last stream? I can. Let me give you... Maybe? Is that not working? Have I frozen? I think I've frozen. Give me just a second. If I transition, will that... Okay, I don't know what's going on with my capture card. Nope, froze. Alright, let's try this. Try to fix this. So if I hit the camera... I apologize for the freeze. We are going to hit properties. And then for a moment here, once this loads, because it's taking forever, I really think that this laptop is not, it's not getting rid of the buffer as we stream. So the longer I stream, the laggier it gets. Alright. I'm trying my best. Can I? That's really weird because my monitoring, okay, that's not working. So how about my device? Okay, testing, testing. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, so yeah, this is the rose, and there's quite a lot of scale in here, so I still need to, we're good, awesome. I don't know why it it muted my audio for whatever reason. So yeah, I think it looks really nice that when I'm able to pull out the edge of the rose petals, I think it makes it look very lifelike. But yeah, I feel like, the petals are a little bit thick, but overall I think it looks very lifelike. So I'm really happy with it. I think the stem could maybe use a little branch of maybe leaves or something. So I mean, we might make some leaves for it at some point in the future. But yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with it. It's a good kit. Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Pink, for the bits. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like the rose. So once I want to bend the rose like the stem so that you can see it on or and because when I want to hang it on the project roll, and I think that if I hang it just like this up here, you won't really be able to see it very well. So I kind of want to bend the head of the rose this way so that when I hang it there, you can kind of see the center instead of the side of it. So I want to do that. I haven't had a chance yet to do it, so I don't know. Maybe I suppose I could do it now. Let's see if I can. I'll have to use a different set of tongs because these ones are a little bit too. All And let's see if I can't get this in here along with our other piece. All right, there we go. That way I can kind of move the head forward a little bit on the stem. Okay. So I think in order to do that, I'm probably going to use the post vise. It'll make it a little bit easier. And so yeah, yesterday I was drilling holes in pipe, and that's why I had these little rubber bumpers, because it makes it a lot easier for the jaws of the tongs to hang on to that round surface. And I'll give you a look at the mechanisms and the black iron pipe that I did for the forge when we get to actually use it. And maybe for the video, it might actually work better for the video when I do the, I guess the edited version of building the forge. So yeah. All right. So I am going to move the stuff in the forge around, and we're gonna get started, I think. I don't need the pedals to be hot. I really just need the stem to be hot. So that can kind of sit in there for a little bit. Oh, we've got an ad incoming, and I apologize for that. That's probably because the VOD, or I guess the VOD split. And so now we're in the beginning ads again. So I apologize for that. I will, once the ad is complete, we will get started on this coal rake. It should be a fun project. I'm really looking forward to it. I made, or like I said, I lost my coal rake, so I already have one, but I made that one really early in my blacksmithing career, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how much more of it, or how much better I can make it look, what kind of improvements I can make to it. I really want to make a good hanging bit on it. That way I can hang the coal rake on the forge, and then I won't lose it. There's like I want to put a hook at the end of it, or like a little tail, a little round section maybe. And I want to make a really nice spatula look for the tip of it, with a nice curl and some twists maybe. And this will make a little bit more sense when I am, or as we're going. All right. I am going to start the cameras up recording and open the garage door so I can kind of keep track of the storm a little bit. Hopefully there won't be too many leaves that blow in here. Yeah. Alrighty. Do we have an ad going? We have about 13 seconds left on the ad, so we should be all right. Okay. So I'm gonna do that, and I think I'm gonna put the inset up there. That way you guys can kind of see what's going on with me. So we are going to start by tapering this end, and this is going to be the little hangy bit. I want to add a little loop at the end of it, so I can hang it on the edge of the forge. So I've got a nice little point on that end. It's not like a pointy point, but it's kind of a blunt point, and I think that's exactly what I want to see. And I will draw this down a little bit further as we keep on keeping on. Now our rose is nice and hot. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to start closing the jaws of my post vise, move my water so that I don't accidentally get scale inside of it. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bend the stem. We're gonna do our best to kind of get this rose out of here. All right, and now we're gonna kind of, we're gonna use this guy to kind of maybe, you know what? It would have been easier and better if I'd have put this in upside down. Sometimes I have great ideas, and sometimes my ideas are a little bit less than ideal. Whew. All right, so we've got a nice bend on this rose. So you guys should be able to see it on the wall like so. And so I'm going to put this guy over there so it can cool off a bit. And then I will put these guys away. All right. Yeah, sometimes my ideas are a little smarter than other times. Like I said, I think that it was a better idea to put it in there upside down than right side up because, you know, hammering on the pedals would have caused problems. So I think it worked out. Alrighty. So I think I'm going to do another heat on the coal forge, the coal rake. And we will keep on keeping on. Just going to keep on drawing that back a little bit. Like I said, I want to create a nice loop so that we can hook this onto an S-hook that hangs onto the coal forge itself. Or I could drop my piece. That's always great. It never fails. I feel like I drop a piece at least once every time I come out here. It's incredible. I'm so clumsy sometimes. There we go. That's better. So one of the things that my realtor, when I bought this property, you know, warned us about was that the tiles in this garage have asbestos in them. And he said that we don't need to worry about it as long as we never take them out of the shop. We never like peel them up or anything. And that if we wanted to get rid of the risk of the asbestos, we could kind of concrete over it, and that would work. So then we wouldn't have to, you know, get asbestos specialists in here. And I kind of looked at this as a plus almost, because if it was anything but, you know, if it was like vinyl or anything else, it would actually melt and it would be awful. But because these have asbestos in them, they don't set on fire. They have barely any smell at all, and it's not a detriment or detrimental to the floor when I drop pieces of steel. All right, I am going to turn on my fan real fast because it's starting to get warm, super duper warm. All right. Get some airflow in here. Very true. Yeah, so I definitely don't want to pull up any of these tiles, but as long as they stay on the floor, they're not bad. They're not a threat, so they can stay there for a while. Eventually, I do want to pave over them in cement, just because the next person that moves in may not want them. But for now, it's fine. So before I moved into this house, we had lived in another house that also had a garage, and I made that garage into my shop. And when we moved between the two houses, it was almost impossible for me to get up all of the scale and metal dust and little pieces of metal. So I often, wonder if they were, the people that bought that house were able to, sweep up the floor and not pop their tires. So, if I do that in here, maybe the next person who owns this house won't have to deal with all of that metal and sweep it up and stuff. Alrighty, let's do another heat. So I'm going to come over here to the horn of the anvil because I really want to expand this quickly. I don't want to spend all day on this tail. So I think I have the length that I want at this point. But it is definitely still too tall or too wide in both of the directions. So it's too wide this direction and this direction. So I really want to thin that out. And we're going to grow this tail a little bit longer, and that way we can get a much bigger loop. So I don't want to add any more of the fresh material. We're just going to make a skinny rat tail and a loop out of the material that we already have. So yeah, man, it's getting windy out there. Let me check my latency here. It looks like we're still pretty good for the moment, but I mean, this is the exact amount of wind that would knock me out, knock out my internet previously. So I think that the workmen did a really good job fixing the cables and replacing all of the connections. It's still pretty bright outside, so I think we have plenty of time to keep on working on this project together. So I'm hoping that this means I don't have to fight with my internet anymore. Now that is another technological problem that I'm glad to be rid of. So it was the sound and now the internet, and now I have another issue that will eventually affect us. that I will probably have to fight at some point. Our laptop, the laptop that I use to stream from, is about 10 years old. I think I got it in about, I don't know, probably 2015, 2016. So it's relatively old, and ordinarily it would be fine because I mean, all of my camera and everything that goes straight through a capture card, so it doesn't have to process quite as much information. But because it is so old, in October, or it still runs, I think it actually runs Windows, is it 9 or is it 10? Or I think it's got to be 10, right? So I looked at, or I went to Google and I was like, is my laptop going to make the jump from 10 to 11? And I ran all the Microsoft tests, and no, it won't upgrade. So in October, they will stop supporting the operating system of my laptop. So, we might have to fight that a little bit. I'll be using this guy for as long as I can manage, and eventually we will be getting an upgrade. But it could take a little bit. It might take a little bit of finagling different computers around the house. We have several computers that we aren't using in various locations throughout the house. We might just bring a desktop out here. But it's kind of, what do I want to do, I guess, is more the fight than, fighting the laptop itself. Yeah, in the same boat. Yeah, it always irritates me when Windows decides to like stop supporting the previous operating system. It's like, honestly, you can still use a Windows 95 computer. The operating system just doesn't break, but these new ones, they are constantly breaking. And so when they stop supporting them, you can't really use them for very long after that. So, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do. Like I said, I do have a couple other computers that we're not using. They, for one reason or another, they've been kind of rebuilt, and they aren't quite as good or good enough to game on, but they should be good enough to handle the stream. So, we might move those in here, but I kind of got to think about it for a while. Eventually, I do really want to get another laptop because it's a lot more convenient to stream from a laptop. Gaming in the shop could be fun. Need heat, light the forge. Exactly. I do have my gaming computer in the house, and I use it to do all of my editing for YouTube. And, posting all of the VODs and everything. That's where I download all my VODs and post on YouTube. But it's my gaming computer, and if I bring it out here, it's going to get covered in dust and dirt. So I try not to put my good computers out in the shop. All right, let's do another heat. We are continuing to thin out this little rat tail. I don't know why I'm calling it a rat tail, but it'll work. I want to get a lot of length so that we can get a decent amount of, or a decent sized ring on the end. I think I said that already. I think it's looking pretty good. I want to refine a little bit on this back end here and make it a little bit thinner. But we're almost there. So once we're done with that ring, what we're going to do is we are going to flip the piece over and start working on the rake section of our coal rake. And my favorite style of coal rake has a little like spatula like paddle on the end of it, and that gives me a good shovel that I can shove around the coal without, without having to worry about losing coal or having it dig in and the coal jump over it. So that's the next thing that I'm planning on making, or the next step. I kind of want to make this one a little bit more pretty. So we're going to put a little bit of decoration on it. And I think I want to do a twist for that handle. I really enjoy twisted handles on pieces of forged work, because the twist, like the flutes in that twist, create very nice handholds. So for your fingers, so they just kind of hug your fingers really well, and so you get a really good grip, and it feels really nice in your hand. So yesterday, while I was testing the coal forge, this was the coal rake that I used. This is just like a random piece of round stock that I happened to have laying around, and the coal was constantly jumping over this. It was very hard to rake the coal and make the coal go where I wanted it to with this guy, and that's kind of why we are working on making a new coal rake. Alright, I think we're going to do another heat. Kind of moving through this a little bit fast because I want to get it finished in one day if I can manage it. So we're focusing on that back edge here to kind of create a little bit of an isolation, to kind of clean up this back edge a little bit. A couple more heats and we'll be able to create that nice ring. So I think that I want the ring to be rounded, or I guess that stock that we're going to create the ring with, I want it to be rounded. So right now it is that square profile. So I think we are going to kind of round that out and then start shaping it. I think I like the width of it, or like the diameter of what it will be. So I think we're doing pretty all right with it. If we end up getting this done quicker than I think, then, because I mean, a coal rake is a really good warm-up project when you are just getting started in the shop. And so if we end up getting it done a little bit earlier and we still have some time before the storm rolls in, we might work on another S-hook. And the next S-hook that I'm planning on doing is just going to be a rounded S-hook, just like a long, we're just going to draw out the piece of steel, and it's just going to have maybe a scroll instead of a penny on the end. I was pretty happy with the S-hook that we made on Monday, but I think I want to make it a little bit thinner. I think it looked all right, but it just wasn't as functional as I wanted it to be for the particular use that I have in mind, the particular use case. So, whoops, that's the wrong side of the inset. So we're going to do another heat. going to offset this over here a little bit. And it's going to make it a little bit harder to round out, but I think it'll be all right. Rounding it out like this will allow us to, or offsetting, or rounding it out like this is exactly the way I wanted it to be, but then offsetting it like this is going to allow us to have a central round ring. So instead of having a offset ring where it's just like a P shape, it'll actually be an O shape. And so I think that'll look real nice. I do want to clean up this transition right here. There's a little corner there. I'll clean that up a little bit on the horn in our next heat, and then I will start shaping that ring. So I'm thinking that next week's video is going to be the internet, but the interview that I had with Nate. So I'm thinking that a week or like the week after that, I will probably, I think I'm going to work on the chalk, or like the soapstone holder. This guy. The soapstone holder. So I know that we started this on stream, but we didn't finish it on stream, and I did actually record the entire process. So I really wanted to make a video of it so that you guys can kind of see the rest of it and how I made it and stuff. So there is a video and footage of this, so I will be editing that, and not next week, but the week after. I think that's when it's going to get posted. Cool. I hope so. I hope you guys like it. So I have a bunch of videos that I need to catch up on. I have to do the soapstone holder. We need to do the Ray Smithy sign. And then we also need to do the KoFi video. So that's 3 that I have most of the footage for already. And then, I still have a few videos that I need to shoot. We need to do the hammer eye punch that we bought in Indiana. So I need to clean that one up and reshape it so that we can use it for our hammer. So I'm hoping that within the next couple weeks or weekends, I can kind of shoot some of these videos. I really want to, or I haven't done the raise part of the Ray Smithy sign. I need to do that. Both of those are going to be a little bit more on the boring side, so I'm not going to stream them, but I will shoot some highlights for YouTube. All right, let's do another heat. All right, so I kind of want to clean up this little transition here. A little bit. All right, now we're going to kind of start shaping it a little bit. It is a little on the colder side, so we might need another heat. So we've got a nice question mark looking thing right now. So we're going to close that up in our next heat. I'm going to check my cameras, and we'll refresh those clips. I'm also going to move the close-up camera so that the horn is a little bit more central in the frame. That way you guys can see a little bit easier as I'm rounding this over on the horn. It looks like it's just you and me today, Ping. But that's all right, because we've got plenty of people that could show up at any moment. And then we also have, when I post the VOD on YouTube, we have all of the people in YouTube land. I think this will be an all right project. It'll be like kind of a basic blacksmithing project. It's kind of, it's one of those tools that you use and, that you need in the beginning of your blacksmithing career. It's something that's it's a simple project to get you started. So I think it'll be an all right project for YouTube. And it looks like we've got an ad starting, but that's all right. I will wait until the ad is done, and then we'll do our next heat where we are going to finish out that ring. And then once that ring is finished, we are going to flip the piece around and start working on the spatula form. And I'd like to add a gooseneck onto it. I'm going to call it a gooseneck, but I guess you'll kind of see a little bit as I work on this. It is really warm today. It's only been about 30 minutes and I've already drank through my first water. It's going to be quite the day, I think. Still pretty sunny outside, so I think we've got plenty of time. Yep. Goodness gracious. All right. Is our ad finished? No, we've got about 35 seconds left on this ad, or at least the timer. I'm never quite sure if the ad is, complete or, if people are even getting ads. But I do have a timer every 30 minutes. I do that whole minute and a half of ads every half an hour. So I guess it's like 3 minutes of ads every hour or something like that. There's a part of me that wonders if that is, that's the best and most efficient ad scheme. But I guess it works. So we're going outside until the vent fan is fixed. Yeah, I think we are, because I added it's like a vent for over your stove. You know how there's, you turn on the fan and it gets rid of all of the smoke or the steam when you're cooking over your stove. We added one of those over top of the window to kind of suck up all of the coal smoke. But it doesn't have a strong enough fan, so it doesn't have quite enough suction to get all of the smoke. And over time, it starts building up in the ceiling. And as it starts building up and getting lower and lower and lower, and then you just get smoked out. So I think what we're going to do is take some sheet steel and create a box so that it kind of creates a little bit more suction by closing in the space, maybe. I do 1.5 minutes or 2 times an hour seems good. Yeah, that seems like a pretty decent amount of time. I know that there are some people on Twitch that do longer than 1.5 minutes, but I feel like a minute, or if I go over a minute and a half, I'll start losing people, you know? So I'm hoping that if I put a flume or build a flume, I can get the vent to release all of the smoke out the window, and then it'll pull it out of the shop. So because it would be really nice to be able to still use the coal forge in the winter, and when the weather is bad like today. Um, Part of the reason I didn't want to do outdoors today with the coal forge is because of the wind. I mean, it's sunny and not very cloudy right now, but the wind is just incredible. If it blew leaves into the coal forge and set it on fire, it could cause a lot of issues. And so the wind is why we are in the house or in the shop today. All right, so we're gonna do another heat. I had to vent my greenhouse with 6-inch can fans. Made quite a difference. I'm sure. We've been thinking about doing a window box fan. So I'm kind of trying to close up this ring. I want it to be nice and round. It's kind of not really amazingly round right now. It's also not very centered. So we're going to try and fix that. That's a lot better. I think I can live with that. Maybe I'll move it just a hair that way. I'll do one more heat just to complete the roundness and shift it just a little that way. But overall, I think the ring is pretty good. So yeah, in my old house, we used to have this like rectangular box fan. It had two little like blades, and they were like little round fans, and it sat inside of your window. So you could turn it so that it was blowing in or out, and it just kind of sat in the window. And so we're thinking that maybe if we get one of those, and then also build like a box so that the smoke can kind of get sucked up into a chimney, I guess, or a chimney-like shape, then it might work a little bit easier and better. Because it would be really, really nice to be able to forge in here. All right, we've got plenty of heat, so I am going to shift over the ring. Just a little. So if we look down the piece, it looks relatively central along that line. So let's see. Yeah, if you guys look down it, it looks pretty centralized. So now we are going to turn this over and start working on this end over here. So now we have a really nice ring, and it's got a really wide circle so that any size S-hook that I attach to the coal forge, it'll be able to go through. And that's what I really like. I should be able to use put it on a lot of different areas and a lot of different hooks and styles and things. I also think that it's going to feel really nice in the palm of my hand, like right around here. Putting it flat against the heel of your palm. I think it's gonna feel really nice. So you can use it like this, and rake around and stuff. I think it'll feel really nice. Let's see. What else is going on? So tomorrow is Juneteenth, and so that means that my partner will be home all day tomorrow, which is going to be a little bit difficult for me because my partner is incredibly distracting for me. He really likes talking and gaming and going out and doing all kinds of stuff and I really hate having to work when he's home because I feel like I'm missing out almost, and I really like spending time together. So um, and I do still need to edit my shorts for next week. So I'm hoping that I can get those done in the morning. And then we can spend the afternoon, having fun and doing like the things that we need to get done around the house and, maybe take a walk, go for a hike, things like that. And then he's also going to be off on Friday. Now, I will be streaming Friday as long as I'm able to, as long as I have internet and I'm not ill or whatever. Um, I'm planning on streaming Friday. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do. It depends. I'd really like to, start up the coal forge. So I'm hoping that we can make that work, even if that's just going outside. Um, but I really want to make that work. Hopefully, it won't be too stormy or hot or anything. Now, it is supposed to be really warm this weekend in the area, and there is a heat advisory predicted. So I still think that, forging outside might be our best bet. But, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. All right, let's do another heat. So I'm going to isolate a good amount of material here. On 2 out of the 4 sides of this piece of stock. I want to keep that centralized a little bit, but I want to keep nice corners on that. So we're going to do our best to keep those corners nice and sharp. We'll probably end up isolating on all 4 corners, just isolating this entire chunk here. This is where our rake, the paddle of our rake, is going to start. And this right here, I want to gooseneck that a little bit. So we're going to draw that down so it's nice and thin. So that way we can make a nice curve. I think it's shaping up pretty nicely. The material is actually behaving for once in my life, and I think I'm doing pretty well. So like I said, I think I will actually isolate all 4 sides of this. Right now I just kind of shouldered it so that I was isolating a little bit of a neck. And I think I just want to have a block at the very end and have a thinner transition. What else is happening? So it looks like our van, or the van that we may or may not be getting, is starting to be decommissioned at the news station. And it seems to be working or going a lot faster than I originally anticipated. I thought it would take about a month for them to decommission it, take out all of the components that they want to keep. And it seems like, they're almost done with it already. So I'm hoping that we can make a bid on it pretty soon. So how it's going to work is that we have to make a bid, and then they have to take bids from scrappers, or at least a scrapper, also maybe a dealership, to see if they can get more money from either of those. And if our bid is higher, then we get to purchase the van. If not, I guess we will be on the van hunt again. There are a few vans that we were looking at before we found out that this van was being decommissioned. So if our bid is not the highest, then we will definitely be taking a look at some of those other vans as well. I'm hoping though that we get this van because it already has a power system and it's already insulated. It already has a air conditioner in it. So it would be a lot easier to build it out into a workable, travel van. So I'm actually pretty looking forward to that. It'll be a fun project, and I'm planning on doing a little bit of filming while we're doing the project itself. I'll probably post it up on YouTube. I'm not going to stream it because that's just not what our channel is about. Welcome in, everybody. My water went down the wrong pipe. So we are making a coal rake, and so we have made a ring on the end of it so that we can hang it onto our coal forge as we are working, or when we don't need to be raking coal around. The reason that we do rake coal is because we need to add or subtract coal in order to maintain our fire and get the amount of heat that we need on pieces of steel. It is a lot easier to use a designated coal rake shape than it would be to use a regular piece of stock like this. So yesterday I was testing our new coal forge, the one that I built on stream. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And I was using this guy because I lost my coal rake. And it was a pain in the butt. The coal just kept floating over top of it, and this just kept getting dug into the coal. And it's any wonder, because I mean, the whole point of having a coal forge is so that you can stick the material right underneath of the coal so that you can heat the piece of steel. So, using this as a rake just doesn't quite work right. So, and I lost my coal rake, so we're making a new one. Alrighty. I'm gonna do another heat. So we're working on isolating this spatula area, and this is going to turn into the rake itself. So now that we've got some pretty decent isolation in the shelves, corners, transition, I guess, For our next heat, we're going to come over here to the horn of the anvil, and we're going to start drawing down this material. I want to make a gooseneck so it's all nice and thin, and I can create like a rounded area on this guy. Welcome in, Blue Scale. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome in. So I am a blacksmith, you know, obviously I'm blacksmithing. But yeah, I also enjoy answering people's questions. So if anybody has any questions about blacksmithing or, you know, me or the piece, feel free to ask them. There are no stupid questions around here. I am perfectly happy answering all kinds of questions within reason, you know. But yeah, I really enjoy blacksmithing, and it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy sharing blacksmithing with the community here on Twitch. So I am here on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And then I'm also up on YouTube. So there is a link on the channel page. You can take a look at some of the previous VODs that are up there, the ones that are, you know, beyond the 30 days. And then I also have some more edited pieces that, you know, are, if you don't want to watch me live blacksmithing, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to do the work. So you can kind of see the condensed version of that on YouTube. I love to do blacksmithing, like Renaissance age blacksmithing. Yeah, I do the blacksmithing, but I definitely use a lot of modern tools and techniques. Um, and my excuse is that if those blacksmiths had access to things like power hammers and forge presses and things like this, they would definitely have used them. So, and I am a single blacksmith. I don't have an apprentice to help me out. So these types of pieces of equipment, they help me blacksmith by myself. I mean, apprentices, they would do all kinds of things. They would man the bellows. They would hammer for the blacksmith, you know, with more power, with a sledgehammer and things like that. So yeah, I do similar things, but not exactly, you know, the old style. I'm a little bit more of a modern convenience girly. This is a propane gas forge. It is a self-aspirating forge. That means that the propane comes from the tank. There is a hole right in that little T that sucks in oxygen and air from the atmosphere around, and that's what creates the heat in that fire. So I'm going to do another heat real fast while I've got my heat. And actually, before I do that, I am going to move our view so you guys can kind of, because I've been working a little bit in the center. So we're going to change that so you guys can see it a little bit easier. Come on. Do what I ask you to. All right. It's a little bit deeper on this shoulder than that shoulder, and we're going to try and correct that in our next heat. I can do a little bit, but there, that's a lot better. All right, so now we are going to draw this section here into a gooseneck so we can kind of create a rounded area. And I said that we were going to do that last heat, and we didn't, so I apologize. So yeah, it's been fun today. We are, I am watching for a storm that's supposed to be blowing in. It is supposed to blow in around 4 p.m. local time. I live in central U.S. time. So Eastern is probably the more familiar time zone, or U.S. time zone, and that would be 5 p.m. So that's about, what time is it now? A quarter to 4 Eastern. So we've got about an hour and 15 minutes until that blows in. Or at least that's when it's supposed to blow in. We'll see. We'll see if it blows in early or if it stays out late. Oh, I just got a text. What was that? Nope, it's not a text. It's just a random notification. Don't you just love random notifications? Google has this weird new thing where it knows, like, it uses the motion sensor within the phone itself to kind of tell when I'm looking at my phone, and then it gives me notifications when I pick up my phone, which I think is kind of weird and creepy. It is already creepy enough that phones and pieces of technology are constantly listening to you. I just, I would rather it not use its motion sensor. But I mean, technology is technology, and I wouldn't go back, so I guess I just have to live with it. All right, let's do another heat. So we're going to come over here to the horn of the anvil. And the reason that we're using the horn of the anvil is because we are getting a lot less surface area on the piece, or coming into contact with the piece. That means we keep it hot a little bit longer. It also means that the pressure of each hammer blow is amplified. And we're going to get some more heat. I've got a nice neck going, so we're going to bring that taper down a little bit further and make this a little bit longer. I think I did the right thing. Press the correct button. Let's see. What else is going on? Or what else can I talk about? I have a tendency to prepare so many topics. And once I have, run through the topics, then I have to kind of like speak off the cuff when I don't have very many comments to riff off of. It makes it a little bit more challenging, but you win some, you lose some. Today's a little bit slow, but Friday was hopping. But that's all right. We can definitely focus a little bit more on this piece, and that way I can kind of tell you precisely what I'm thinking as I am creating this piece. Warm. So it is in the 80s today, and aside from all of the wind, you know, I feel like it's very humid, and then with the added heat from the forge, it just gets really, really stuffy. So I've got a decent amount of airflow coming because I have a garage door behind the cameras, and that's wide open, and then there's a door right over here that's wide open. Then I have an industrial fan that's moving the air around, but it is still so warm. True. Yeah, we were hopping on Friday. My average was like 22, or I think it was like, was it in the 20s or was it in the 30s? But we had 100 people here at one point, and there were over 200, or there were almost 200 people like throughout the stream. So that was so impressive, and I have that raid to thank for that. I'm very grateful for the raid. Everybody who has rated this channel has been amazing, and we've gotten people added to the community every time it's happened. It's been great. Awesome, Pink says. So we've got another ad coming up, so I will probably do another heat once the ad timer runs its course. I never know who has an ad and who doesn't, because they've got the little ads, the big ads, and then the banners, and they all take from the ad timer, so I never know who's got an ad and who doesn't. So once that ad timer goes, we will do another heat. We're going to continue drawing down that gooseneck. What else can I talk about? So Friday, if I can manage to make it work, I'm going to take the coal forge. We're probably going to bring it outside because it's going to take me a little bit of extra time to create that bloom, so that we can forge with the coal inside. But if I can manage to figure out a way to get the cameras to run between outside and the press, we're going to take a look at the Atlantic steel that I got from the Indiana conference, and we're going to play with it a little bit. That's what I wanted to do today, but unfortunately with the weather and the testing of the coal forge yesterday, it just wasn't feasible. So I'm really hoping that I can manage that on Friday, and I think because my partner is home tomorrow, we might be able to make it work. I'll have him take a look at it. So this is the Atlantic, some numbers. I will have the numbers for you when I start working on it. But this is that fluted steel. It is a low carbon steel, but it hardens like a carbon steel. It is a water quenching tool steel, and I'm kind of curious how it works. It's incredibly expensive. It is a designer alloy, and that's kind of hard to get a hold of. It was created for the U.S. Navy, and I'm really looking forward to playing with it, seeing how it works or how it forges. It is always interesting to start playing with a new alloy because the forging temperature are different on different styles of, or I guess, alloys. So forging temperatures differ on different alloys. And so I'm curious to see how hot I need to get this before it starts moving the way I want it to. So what I want to do with this guy is I want to turn it into a hammer eye drift. So I want to be able to create that little hole in a hammerhead so that you can put the handle on it. And if you can kind of tell, it's a little bit too tall, and a little bit too short width-wise to be able to create a hole like this. So I'm wondering if I can forge this down or if I'm going to need to upset it. And I think I'm going to need to upset it. Upsetting is the process of hammering the steel into itself. And that actually starts fattening up the steel. So when you hammer directly down on a piece of steel, that will compress it. And if you hammer, so if I were to hammer just like directly down on this piece of steel, it would compress it. But if I were to hammer like this, or I guess it would compress and lengthen if I were to hammer this direction. But if I hammer this direction, it will compress it and widen it. So it will take length off of the vertical and add it to that middle chunk. So I'm kind of wondering if I can make this work the way I want it to. All right, I'm going to do another heat. Neat. Neat, neat. All right, so we're coming back over here onto the horn of the anvil to kind of draw back a little bit more of this material. I want to leave myself a good amount of material back behind this gooseneck to create a nice handle hole or like handhold. But like I said, I want to make a really nice gooseneck. All right, we're going to heat that up. We're going to draw this taper back a little bit further. We're probably going to end it around here. And so that'll increase the length of this piece as a whole. And I really like the width right there. So I think that's going to be our target. Whew. So I am technically under a tornado watch right now, and I mean I was technically under a tornado watch before I started streaming, but it's just absolutely gorgeous looking. The sky is blue. There's some puffy white clouds out there. It's just really hard to believe that there's supposed to be a storm rolling in. So yeah, I don't know. I think we're gonna manage to get the entire stream, you know, or the entire piece done before the storm rolls in. So that'll be really nice. I really want to finish this piece in one stream. That way I have the ability to start a fresh project on Friday. And yeah. I think so too. Yeah, it is so weird that we're supposed to be, you know, it's supposed to storm this afternoon. So Ping, you're on the East Coast, right? Are you experiencing any storms? I saw a system that was like headed in a northeastern direction, but it might miss you. I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of running out of topics. I'll do my best to come up with some more. So I have been emailing back and forth to Nate, who is one of the presenters for the Indiana Blacksmithing Conference, and we've kind of been talking back and forth because I started editing his piece, and I was looking to see if maybe he had a few more pictures of his work, because I feel like when I did the Tom Lawtonay piece, I didn't have a lot of pieces of his work or like images of his work. So I'm trying to figure out or see if I can't get some more, extra visuals of the work that he's done. And so we've been talking back and forth. He's a really nice guy. We've had rain the last few days. Next is some very hot days. Yeah, I heard, or like around here, it's supposed to be like 90 to 100, somewhere in that range. We've got heat advisories that they're predicting, and so I'm a little bit worried. But I'm also like, I have air conditioning in my house, and I don't have to be out here in the shop. I also have like projects that I need to do that do not involve the forge, so I can make sure that I get those ones done. Then there is also, I have to finish the bathroom. We are remodeling our bathroom, and we started that project 5 years ago, and it's one of the projects that take forever. You start it, you get to a point, and it's just like you can't quite get yourself motivated to keep doing it. Same. I'm up in the Northeast with Yankee. Yeah, I thought you guys were relatively close together. I think that Mahalo is out there with you guys too. I mean, when I say out there, I just mean somewhere on the East Coast. I mean, I would say that even if one of you guys was up in Maine and the other was up in Florida. I kind of see the East Coast as that giant swath of coastal states, but then I also see like the Midwest where I live as like a giant swath from like Wisconsin all the way down to like Louisiana. So everything that the Mississippi River touches, that's that I consider that a whole giant swath. So I mean, and it definitely isn't, because culture is completely different between Maine and Florida, clearly. Both culturally, politically, and many, many other, factors. It's the same between Wisconsin and Louisiana and Mississippi. The culture is like completely different from top to bottom. So it's like, by generalizing those sections of the country, it's grossly ignoring a lot of differences. All right, I'm gonna do another heat. So when is the next blacksmith trip? So we are planning on going to Quad State for the moment. I don't have all of the details on that trip, but that is not until September. So that gives us a little bit of time to kind of outfit our travel van a little bit. But there are a few places that I could visit between now and then if I needed to or wanted to. So I'm continuing to work on this gooseneck. I'm almost happy with the length of it, but not quite. I just feel like I need it to be a little bit longer, and I definitely need to reduce the width here. So a few more heats. Once we're finished with this gooseneck, we are going to start working on the spatula section here. We're going to widen this out, very similar to like in the style of a leaf. So I'm going to change from the rounding hammer to a cross peen hammer. We're going to widen this spatula out, and then we're going to shape it so that it creates like a Reiki, or I don't know, a horizontal shape, I guess. And then I want to twist the end, or I guess the handle of it. I want to put a nice twist in it so that it contours to my fingers a little bit better. So a few more things to do. But yeah, I've met a few interesting people between Indiana and Missouri. And so there are some of them I wasn't able to feature on, my YouTube channel. So I'm really looking forward to kind of, talking with them. So I'm hoping that maybe I can like schedule a shop tour with some of them. There's a guy that makes hammers out in Kansas City, Missouri, which is a 5-hour trip. So it's not like a really short jaunt or anything. It's kind of a longer trip. But I would like to visit his shop. He actually works in a old factory that's been retrofitted, and he works on the second floor with like, you know, a blacksmith shop. And I'm like, I gotta see this, because I mean, a second floor blacksmith shop just does not sound like an amazingly good idea to me. So I really want to check out his shop. And there's a couple other people who have shops that are relatively close to me. So I'm hoping that maybe I can, take a couple maybe of shop tours. There's a couple other places and events that I would also like to go to. And so if Quad State does not work out, I have a bunch of connections in Memphis, Tennessee at the International Metals Museum. And in September, around the same time as Quad State, they have what they call Repair Days. It is a fundraiser for them. And so they take in broken metal objects from around the community, like around Memphis, Tennessee, and they ship in, or I guess volunteers from across the country and across the world fly in or drive in, and they volunteer their time to repair all of these objects. And the funds that are generated from the community paying for those repairs goes to funding the museum for another year. And they also have a benefit catered meal. So it's like a gala, I guess. You dress up and there's like an auction and things like that. So if we don't end up making it to Quad State, we might make it over to the Metals Museum. And if we don't end up there at Repair Days in the spring, they have a blacksmith workshop, and we'll definitely see if we can't make it down there. Collaborations are great. Collaborations are great. You know who I would love to do a collaboration with? I mean, I definitely want to do a collaboration with Yankee, and I'm working on figuring out a way to do an axe so that I can, see if he wants to collab with me. But I also would love to go and collab with Blacksmith Dan. He's around this area as well. He's a part of BAM, so, not too far away. I would love to tour his shop. Maybe we can make that happen. All right, I'm going to do another heat. Or maybe we can have Dan come here. We'll see what we can make happen. Looks like we're losing squares, so I got to be a little bit more careful. I'm going to straighten this out a little bit. We've been using the horn, so we've got a little bit of a twist, and there's some weird lumps and bumps, so we're going to try and correct those a bit. over here on the face. We'll put this back in the forge. We're getting a little bit on the thin side. So I think that I might want to lay off that center of that gooseneck and start working more towards where the handle is going to start. That transition. Does your partner enjoy working the camera at these events? I mean, my partner just loves being behind the camera. So, I mean, there's that. Anytime he can make a video, he's happy. So, I mean, there's the part of me that wonders if he, you know, does not enjoy like being the pack mule because, you know, he's behind the camera, but it's not just the camera that he's carrying. He has an entire backpack full of gear that he swaps in and out, and like lots and lots of lenses and stuff. So it gets kind of heavy sometimes. And every once in a while, I wonder if he's, you know, carrying too much weight or, you know, not having fun. But I mean, he always says he's having fun. And he definitely, you know, he's the one that funds all of these trips and projects. So, I mean, if he didn't like it, then maybe he shouldn't fund it, right? Awesome and very true on the effort. Yeah. He puts in a lot of effort. He's like my executive producer. You know, that the people who like put the money in to like movies and stuff, that they're called the executive producers. So my partner is my executive producer since I don't make a lot of money yet. You guys are also my producers. You know, with all of your subscriptions and your bits and all of the ads from you guys watching. It's great support. I love you guys. All right, we're going to do another heat. We're going to come back a little bit, start working on this bulge here. I want to bring this a little bit longer and a little bit further back. But overall, I think we're almost done with this gooseneck. I'm going to try and center this a little bit. As best I can, at least. So this is a lot of like little precise hits. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. We got a nice length there. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on this spatula section, and then we're going to bend this guy back and around. I want the middle of this spatula area to end up being around here. So I want it to be all nice and lined up so that you can look all the way down it from the hole, or like from the loop at the end all the way to the spatula itself. Welcome in, Sandwich. Good evening. Welcome, welcome. I hope that I hit the buttons to change the cameras accurately. I don't know why, but I forgot, or like I spaced when I was changing the cameras, so I don't know if I did change the cameras, so I hope I did. I'm out of water. All right, give me just a second. I'm gonna go and grab a Gatorade. I hate when I do this. Well, I mean, I don't really hate it. It is what it is. All right, we've got red today. Yesterday we had blue, today we have red. Ounces of water, 12 ounces of Gatorade, and then more water after that. Hydrate, guys. Keep those kidneys nice and flushed out. All right. We're going to start working a little bit on the spatula part, I think. I think that's what I said we were going to do. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to put him back. And then we're going to grab the cross peen so that we can widen out the spatula area of our coal rake. All right, another heat. So it looks like we're a little bit off kilter. So I am going to kind of untwist this a little bit to start with so that it is all nice and lined up. And then I'm going to squish it a little bit. Flip it over and start squishing from the side. That way we don't end up making it all lopsided. And once it's wide enough, we're going to turn it over and then we're going to start hammering with the cross peen so that we can get that horizontal motion. That's going to be our next heat. Oh, goodness gracious. We are moving right along. I feel like today has been dragging. It's only been an hour and a half. People coming over for a reptile stream, Gator raid. Ooh. Yes, a Gator raid. I mean, it could be from a reptile stream, or maybe it could be like Florida Gators or something. You know, there is a football team. I guess it's a college football team in Florida called the Florida Gators, and that's where Gatorade got its name from. That team kind of created it. There it is. Got a little bit of scale starting to build up on our anvil. I see. I did not know that. Yeah. So that's also where when sports teams, when they win and they like dump the giant bucket of water or like whatever on top of people, that's where that came from too. They used to dump buckets of Gatorade on people when they won. Kind of weird. All right, I am gonna do another thingy, another heat, I think. I remember knowing it as a child, but then we pronounced the German way, Gaturad. Yeah, that would be different. So you know, it's understandable that you didn't that you didn't know. Also, it's like American, or it's an American football team. So I don't know, you know. So we are using the horizontal movement, or the extra horizontal movement that we get from the cross peen of this hammer. I want to keep it the edges relatively parallel, and we've got a long way to go because we've got a lot of thickness here, and we want to draw that nice and out. We don't want to. I guess we want to do about half of this length. We want to make it, I don't know, about yay wide, because this is going to be a coal rake, not a spatula. I got to keep that in my brain. Remember it so that I don't accidentally make it too thin, because that extra heat will do a number on that if I'm not paying attention. So we want it wider, but we don't want it too wide. Whoa. It's getting really long and unwieldy. The drink, not the team. Yeah. So I assume that the drink, because Gatorade is like an international company at this point. But I mean, American football is American football, and it's not just American football; it's a college team. So I don't imagine that Europeans would follow it, I guess. There is a glare across my laptop screen that makes it look like my shirt is blown out and the white balance is off on my screen, but I don't think it is. It shouldn't be. I mean, it might look a little white. It's actually a pale yellow shirt. It might just look white because it's right next to my apron. So we've got an ad going right now, and I will probably do another heat after the ad. We've been getting a lot, our heat is, the forge has been heating things really, really quickly, so we've just been able to move right along on this project. We've also been a little bit on the quiet side in chat, so it's also allowed me to focus a little bit more, at least when I'm not like trying to come up with more topics to talk about. I suppose it's not really fair when I post that I may or may not be streaming for a long period of time to expect people to show up. So, But yeah, I wasn't sure. This is a big test for the repaired internet, because this is exactly when I would normally just get kicked off. And we've been relatively stable on the whole. As I find out that, maybe it's not as stable as I think, but it looks pretty stable. Welcome in, Mahalo. Welcome in. So today we are working on a coal rake, and so we're working on the actual section that rakes the coal right now. We are widening out like a spatula shape, and we've already got a nice gooseneck formed. So we do need to bend that to shape. After we've bent that to shape, I want to take a look at the handle and make a twist on that handle so that it fits really nice in my hand. So I'm really actually, I'm hoping that it's a good shape. There is a tendency to mispronounce foreign brand names. YouTuber Felly from Germany had a few episodes correcting Americans' pronunciation of German brand names, but Germans can also butcher American brands like Gaturad or also Colgate toothpaste. Yeah. And I mean, the languages are, the sounds are just kind of different, There's a lot of different combinations of letters that just aren't present in each other's languages, I feel like. At least not to the same extent. I'm gonna do another heat. Come on. You know what? Oh, I did. Awesome. Sometimes I'm a smart lady, and sometimes I'm not. So we are widening out this coal rake as well as thinning it out. We've got a little bit of a bulge that's starting to form on the one side, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and match it on the other side, but I also want to keep these sides parallel. So I'm thinking that that's actually pretty good for a coal rake. A piece of coal is about yay big, so that's not going to, if I rake through like this, it's going to start shoving them around. It's going to be less likely that the coal jumps over top of it. So that's what I want to see. So it looks like we're starting to twist. So I'm going to untwist this, and then we're going to and finesse this a little bit further, and then we're going to turn it around so we can twist the back end. I blame Knipex pliers. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I'm not amazingly good at pronouncing foreign words and names, and I end up trying, and it's laughable. Sometimes I feel like it's insulting, so I try not to do it. Well, I try not to do it. It would be one thing if I had one of you guys talking to me and pronouncing it for me so I could actually hear you say it, but because I'm trying to read it, it makes it so hard. See what I mean? Conifex. Oh yeah, definitely. See, I butchered that word, that brand name. Also, sometimes I feel like in German they add extra letters that are not present in the spelling of it, in the pronunciation. And I'm probably mistaken there. It's because I don't hear a lot of German, but it's just how it goes, I guess. It is still bright and shiny and white puffy clouds out there. I don't know. I kind of feel like this is one of those days where, because my partner lives at this news station. I mean, he lives here and he works at the news station. Sometimes it feels like he lives over there. Anyway, my partner works at the news station, so when we have storms like this, people will call up the station and harass them and leave nasty comments on their YouTube and Facebook and stuff, being like, "Where's the storm? Where's the storm?" But the last time that happened, we had a massive tornado and people died, and there was just lots and lots of destruction. I lucked out. Nothing really happened here, but in St. Louis, there was quite a bit of damage. Actually, English doesn't that way more often. It definitely does. Cannot picks are great tools. I haven't actually used them. Most of the tools that I use are American made, or American brands at least. They're usually Chinese made, but American brands. Why do you write bot instead of bot? Yeah. I don't know. Like, I have always been horrible at spelling, and it's for that same reason. It's like when you're spelling, you're trying to kind of sound it out. You know, you say the word over and over and, like, you know, put the letters that you hear, but there are just a lot of silent letters in English. And it does make it hard for people to learn. Even Americans, it makes it hard for them to learn, you know? In German, if it's not important or imported word, you simply pronounce each and every letter. Also, the E's at the end. Interesting. See, most of the E's at the ends of English words are silent. Okay. So I need to untwist this because I want this section right here to be nice and straight. So I don't know, maybe I need to do this. And you know what? I'll heat it up again and I will do that. That way you guys can see it. Because I have you on the close-up shot. Dang it. There we go. Much more better. Alright, so I am going to move my camera. Yeah, I'm moving it in front of the screen this time. Because reasons. Pick something to focus on, Mr. Camera. There we go. Because I have untangled some of the cords that are in my life. We already talked about the supermarket chain Raiwi or Ravi, because the E is always like AE. See, I always want to pronounce that like my own name because my name is RAE and it's spelled Ray, or like it sounds like Ray. Rave, maybe, but it's probably not. That's probably not how it's pronounced. Okay, let me grab a wrench so that I can twist this guy. And I'm going to move my Gatorade. Pretty close, but it's actually spelled Rewe. R-E-W-E. So railway. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Let's do this. I'm going to set you there, and then I'm going to put that over there. That way you should theoretically be able to see what's going on. Maybe. Probably. Now we're going to take this. We're going to bring this over here, and we're going to twist it this way. So these are all nice and in line together. Now this guy is a little bit off, but that's all right. Okay. So now everything is all nice and lined up and not twisty. So we're going to heat this back up, and then we are going to curl this around so that it creates like a, I don't know. I'll come up with a better way to say what I'm trying to say. And then I'm going to move this camera again. Maybe. There we go. That's better. Focus. I tell you, focus. All right, cool. So I'm going to switch hammers again. Hi, Rax. Well, very good day to you. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, Jack. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining the stream. We are currently working on a coal rake because I had a coal rake and I put it on one of my benches and it fell behind the bench, and I just don't want to bend over and move the bench and pick it up. So we're going to make a new one. Actually, I don't know if that's actually where it's at. So I lost it in the mess that's my shop, and so we're going to make a new one. So that on Friday, when we start working in the coal forge, probably from out in the carport, if it's not too bad weather-wise, so that when we can start working out there, we'll have a coal rake to use. I've never heard a more me reason for making a tool. I feel that in my soul. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to bend over and pick it up. Magnet on a string for retrieving your treasure from the beyond. See, that's a great idea. I mean, I could do that. I have magnets underneath of my anvil. I just don't know that that's actually where it's at. So, you know. It's also one of those relatively basic projects that, you know, I really like doing on stream. So I just figured it was win-win for me. You guys get to see a new tool being made, and I get, you know, a project. If I make a new one, I don't have to bother looking. Exactly. Exactly. All right, so we are going to bend this goose neck. I combined goose with the neck, and yeah, not so good a word came out. I apologize for that one. We are going to bend this goose neck to be more functional for the job that I'm making it for. Alrighty. And I think I'm going to put that there. Okay, so we're going to start by bending this backwards. And you would think that that's like, you know, not the way that we want to bend it, because originally we actually want it to go this direction. But I like having that bend in that direction. Or I guess if I started over there, then I can have the center of the stick, the handle, meet the center of the paddle here, and it makes it work a little bit easier. We've already kind of seen that movement, the direction that we're going to go, and I think that made no sense. but I'm going to try it again. So if I start backwards, then I can center the paddle of this coal rake exactly where I want it to be. And it'll look nicer in the end. But agree, that is more better. I wonder what the critical mass of coal rakes is that you can never not find one. I mean, I don't know. I only own one. Well, this will be my second. So, I mean, I have 2 coal forges technically right now. So maybe if I have 2 coal rakes, then I can keep 2 or like keep them on 2 coal forges, and then maybe I won't need another one. But you never know. I have so many drill bits, and I never can find the one I'm looking for. You know, there are drill bits in like 3 different cabinets, and I can never find the one I'm looking for. Goodness gracious. It is warm today. I don't know. I don't know that I believe that there's going to be a storm today. I really don't know. Unfortunately, the number of coal rakes required is always F equals coal rakes. Coal rakes required equals F plus 1. Exactly. That joke is very likely to miss, but I want more. But I wanted to write it. I mean, I like math jokes. I really enjoy math, and I know that's weird, but I mean, I think math is fun. If I didn't like math a little bit, then I definitely would not be a blacksmith, because there is a lot of math involved. I mean, calculating the amount of material that I need for each piece of, for each piece that I make is a lot of math. And I hardly ever do it, so I always end up with either too little or too much material. You know, I should be doing it, but I don't. Nothing make you understand the volume of an item like blacksmithing. I know, right? Like I said, I always have too much material or not enough. And there is a happy medium that I can come to when I have made enough of the same thing over and over, because then it's like math by feel, right? Each time you make one, you kind of can judge a little bit for the next one how much material you need. The only reason I know math is for engineering purposes, especially fractions. I mean, exactly, right? You had one rake. Soon you will have another. So by induction, you may have infinity many. I mean, yeah. I feel like as a blacksmith, I have infinity of everything, or like all the tools that I make over and over, because it's like I just keep making them. Isn't that the point of blacksmithing, though? Is just to keep making stuff? I got to keep myself employed, right? That way, maybe it's me from the future stealing my coal rake so that I am forced to make another one, Maybe someday in the future I invent like a time machine. If you're ever bored, you should look into the 1-inch cube challenge, but basically seeing what you can make about a 1 cubic inch of steel. Oh, out of about 1 cubic inch of steel. I mean, yeah, I've done it once before, and I failed miserably. uh, Thank you so much, Pyrex, for your follow. Thank you so much for your support. I am eternally grateful for all of you who choose to follow me. we have a lot of fun here, or at least I have a lot of fun here. And I mean, you know, since you're here, I'm assuming that you're having fun. So thank you so much for that. Oh, nice. Congrats on reaching your follower goal. Yes. I do. I kind of have this. I always have really small goals for my followers. So, like, they only move up 10 people every time. So then I'm always, you know, reaching my follower goals, and it makes me happy. Expectations. If you manage your expectations, you're always celebrating, right? You can melt it and make a steel puddle. I could melt it and make a steel puddle. Or I could just burn it up, you know, it could become clinker. Small steps. Celebrating is fun. It definitely is. Let's do another heat real fast. Have you ever done any casting? Haha, have I ever done any casting? Let me get through this heat and then I'll talk to you about casting and how much casting I have done. So right now we are shaping this coal rake. So we've got a nice round shape right there. I'm actually pretty happy with it, but I am gonna kind of flatten this side out a little bit. I want it to kind of come around here. And we're gonna go a little bit further than that round, right? So I kind of want like a little round circle to kind of form right here. I need to move this a little bit further. There's too much flat. I want to start that round curve like right there, right there. So we'll see what we can do with that. I also need to twist this paddle out a little bit further, and we'll do that in our next heat. So, I did not start as a blacksmithing. My metalworking career started in fabrication, and then I also went to school for casting. So I actually specialized in small and large scale casting, and so I have cast everything from, let's see, aluminum, bronze. I have cast sterling silver. I have cast iron. I have cast brass. I have cast gold. What else have I cast? Did I say aluminum? I've cast a lot of stuff. So when I went to school, I actually specialized in both fabrication as well as casting. And so I really enjoy casting, but it is to get into the casting that I would want to get into, it costs a lot of money. So, you know, because the type of casting that I learned when I was in school is like lost wax casting. I can do both ceramic shell as well as flask casting. And so, in order to get the equipment to make those on a level that I would be happy with, it costs thousands of dollars up front. So, blacksmithing was a little bit of a cheaper startup cost for me. There's also a lot of people, when they first get into it, they're melting aluminum cans. And the problem with melting aluminum cans for aluminum is there is like a bag inside of your aluminum cans that keeps the soda or whatever's in it from eating through the cans, and then all of that paint on the outside of the cans. And so when you melt that, all of that becomes dross on the top that you have to get rid of. So huge garbage bags full of cans turn into like little ingots about yay big. And so it is just easier and better for me as an artist in the way that I work to buy fresh material, and it's just really expensive. Casting for which role? Yes. brass aluminum is what I've been playing with. See, I love brass and aluminum. Aluminum has a much lower temperature and it's a little bit more finicky because you can actually, within the same heating element, you can either make it just right or you can vaporize your aluminum. So you got to be really careful with it. But I do really enjoy it. And then brass, most of my brass castings were smaller scale stuff. Miniature statues about yay big. I've done really large pieces that I've done in bronze and aluminum. So I think the biggest flask I ever did was, let's see, I think I cast about 30 pounds of bronze at once. And then when I do when I do an iron pour, you are constantly charging the cupola. So when you do an iron pour, you're casting like hundreds of pounds of iron at once. So I've done both. It's a lot of fun. I love it. I really do. And there will be a time where I will show some casting, but I probably won't be participating in it. The Metals Museum does several iron pours throughout the year, and I will make it there at some point within the next 365 days. I at least I hope I will. I'm planning on it. You have done the cans into ingots thing. Or yep, I've done the cans to ingots thing. Most of my stock is now scrap aluminum profiles, but I just play it and do things as cheaply as possible. Old plumbing fittings for the brass. Not sure my homemade furnace is up to iron temps. I mean, usually the homemade ones are not. You kind of have to have a very specialized casting furnace or a cupola for iron pour. But I will definitely, within the next year, probably, show a iron pour either on the channel or on my YouTube. So we are in an ad right now. So once the ad is done, I will pull my piece out of the forge and we'll take a look at it again. We'll see what we can do. Shape that a little bit. I am gonna check my clips real fast. I think I just did this, but I don't remember, and it's always better to check them than miss stuff. I feel like things are a little bit on the washed out side. Maybe I need to white balance again. I don't know. Oh, goodness. That would be great to see. What forge did you prefer, gas or coal? So I have run both a gas and a coal forge. This is my gas, obviously, and then I have a coal forge over there that we just built a couple weeks ago. I just tested it yesterday, and it works beautifully. Like, the forge itself works beautifully, but the ventilation I have in the shop is awful, and I have to rework it. So, as far as my preference, I don't know that I really have a preference. It's kind of like, what process am I trying to do is why I choose one over the other. So typically I choose the propane forge when I am streaming, and the reason that I do that is because I never have to worry about my material melting or burning when I'm sitting here talking to you guys. And I talk to you guys a lot. I forget that I have pieces in the forge, aside from it's really hot in here half the time. Whereas the coal forge, I have a tendency to use that when I am deliberately trying to forge weld, or I'm using larger pieces of steel where I need more penetration or more heat penetration, just because it works a little bit better for me. This guy runs a little bit on the cooler side in comparison to a lot of different forges. I made the barrel incredibly large so I could put large pieces in it, but I didn't build it right because I only made a hole for one burner, and it really should be a 2-burner forge, so it runs a little on the cold side. So it's kind of like I like things for different reasons, if that makes sense. All right, we're going to do another heat. Good answer. Yeah, I try to have good answers. I know a lot of random trivia about blacksmithing in general. All right. So we're going to push that down a little bit. All right. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I'm going to come over here to the corn a little bit. And I'm going to undo what I just did because I'm not happy with that, with how that worked out for me. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that coal rake. So that's pretty much what I'm looking to see for this coal rake. It's gonna work pretty nice. I think it's actually kind of pretty. So the next thing that I'm planning on doing for this guy is I want to put a nice twist in here, just a regular twist. So in order to do that, I am going to change tongs. And pop this guy back in the forge this direction. Whoa. Alrighty. So I'm going to put these guys away because those are specifically sized for 1/4-inch stock. And so these guys have a nice like cutout here that allows me to handle material at a 90-degree angle from these tongs. So I can hold it like this. That's going to make it a lot easier to move that coal rake into the post vise. And because we're going to the post vise, I am going to move the camera so you guys can kind of see that when I do it. And I have to, there it goes. All right, so we're gonna put this right there. Then we're gonna put this right like so. Come on, focus. There we go. That should give us a much better view of the post vise so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Because this material is relatively thin, it's heating up really nicely. It is a little bit... So now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about what direction I want the ring to end up at the end. So if I hold it, I want to hold this piece and rake this direction. So like I'm shaking somebody's hand. So I want that ring to sit in the heel of my palm. And then I want the handle to kind of, if I have the heel, or goodness gracious, let me start that again. So I want the ring, or I want to hold it like I'm shaking a hand. And I want the ring to sit in the palm of my hand, or the heel of my hand. And I want the rake to go in a leftward direction from there. So that it makes it easier for me as a right-handed person to move the coal around. Hopefully that made more sense. It took me a couple tries, but I got it in the end. Okay. So I don't have an amazingly good twister bar. So I just use like, wrenches. So I'm gonna set my wrench so that or to where I think it'll work the best. Makes sense. Good. I'm glad it makes sense to you guys because sometimes it doesn't make any sense to me. But in the end, that's all that matters, right? All right, let's see. Everything's all set up and I know what I'm doing, I think. And we are going to put the inset down there, maybe? I think that's the best place. I need another one. All right. So we're going to stop there for the moment. And we're going to heat it back up. And I'm going to take you back over to the anvil and we're going to straighten that out and make sure, we're going to assess it to make sure that the direction of the ring and the direction of the coal rake are what I need them to be. I hope you guys were able to see that. Fingers crossed and all that. What's your favorite plate or piece suit that I've made? Well, I've made quite a few pieces, and my favorite is probably my piece that I call Atlas. It's a coffee table, and it is a figure or a kneeling figure that has a disc of the world, like a map of the Mediterranean on his back. And I don't have that out here with me. It's actually in my house, but that's probably my favorite piece. If you are interested, I think I have a link to Facebook on the page, and I believe there are a couple pieces of Atlas on my Facebook. So it is made out of steel, or a steel armature that's made of 1/4 inch square stock, and then I skinned him with 20 gauge sheet steel. And yes, you are being good with the camera angles. Awesome. I'm glad, because sometimes I'm kind of not amazing at it. All right, so I'm going to change hammers from this guy to this guy. And what this is a rawhide mallet. And so it's not going to squish or mar the material, or like It is not going to squish or mar the coal rake when I straighten it out on the face of the anvil. This is a very soft mallet, but it will straighten it out the way I need it to. Let's see if I can do this. All right. So if I look straight down it, seems relatively straight now. All right. So the moment of truth, we are going to take it over to the quench bucket. We're going to quench it off, and that way we can kind of take a look at it, see how it feels in our hand. Oh, I have a burn on this guy, or on my bucket. My quench bucket is a plastic cat litter bin, and sometimes when I touch the side of it with a piece of hot metal, it starts melting. Oh yeah, that feels really good. Maybe I should have twisted the other way. If I twisted it the other way, then the flutes would be going the same direction as my fingers. I feel like it would feel a little bit better. But maybe not, I don't know. Overall, I think it's nice. I think it'll work. Yeah, I think that'll work. So this is our coal rake. Oops. So if I show it to you that way, I can show it to you a little closer. So when I hold it like this. That way I can move around the coal however I need to. So the ring sits beautifully exactly where I wanted it to be. I just wish that I had maybe twisted it the opposite direction, because if I had twisted it the opposite direction, left instead of right, then the flutes would be going in the same direction as my hand on the side that my hand sits, right? So they're kind of opposite. But it looks good in my hand when I'm holding onto it, right? Right? That's nice. I found Atlas. I can see why you are rightly proud of that. It's a lovely piece. Yeah, I really like that piece. I like it a lot. There's a couple other pieces that I really enjoy that I made around the same time as I made Atlas. I made a fire screen that has the figure of a phoenix on it, and I really like that piece. And then there are several other pieces that I've made that I really like that are very more artistic than functional, I guess. As an artist, you always have to straddle that line of form versus function, right? Is the form of the object, the beauty of it more important, or is the function of the piece more important to you? The function being, if it's a chair, can you sit in it? Is it comfortable? Whereas, the form is like, is it a pretty chair? Who cares if it's comfy? So that's kind of, I really enjoy form, but I also enjoy function. So most of my work is functional in some way, shape, or form. It's very nice. Yeah. All right. So that is what I had for today. We are a little bit early, but not amazingly early as far as ending the stream. And it still does not look like it's going to storm, but it tends to roll in really quickly. I think I am probably going to end the stream though, because I'd have to start a brand new project, and we're at 2.5 hours. So if there's anybody you guys would like to rate, let me know. Otherwise, I will come up with someone myself. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I've had a blast. I hope you guys have had fun. Thank you, and have a nice day. Thank you, Sandwich. I always have so much fun with you guys. Thanks for the stream. Looking forward to the next one. Excellent. I'm glad. You guys have a great rest of your day, too. All right, let's see. Who is on today? Anybody good? Anybody? Looks like Periferous is on. Let's see. All right, let's rate Periferous. Thank you guys so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day.